What's up, everyone, and welcome to your Thursday's edition of Reptile. Welcome to your Thursday's edition of Reptile News. Now, first of all, I am going to address the elephant in the room. It is November, and I know, I'm sure it'll come up in the comments or someone will send me a message, but it is November, and I am taking part in No Shave November for cancer awareness. All of the, I wouldn't say proceeds, all the money I'm saving on razors and shaving cream is getting donated to the American Cancer Society, and that's what you're supposed to do in November. I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to deal with it. It's been about a week now, and it's really irritating to me. But so now that that elephant is addressed, let's move on to what we're doing today. So I know I haven't made a Thursday video, and it's been years since I've made a Thursday video. But I decided to do one today because there was a significant event that made me want to do that, and today we're going to talk about snake fungal disease. So we talked about snake fungal disease a few years back. It's a fairly new, just being described in 2008, it's a fairly new disease, I guess. And it wasn't really, it was kind of, you know, I feel bad saying this because I'm a snake person, but it was like, it was an East Coast problem, not a West Coast problem. Come on, they'll figure it out. It'll go away. But then, unfortunately, in 2018, it was found in Ontario and Idaho, I believe it was. So it was moving west, but not, I mean, 10 years, that's not a big deal. But now it has been found in California. And the problem that I have with this is it was found about 5 miles from my house, which is kind of freaky. They collected in Plymouth, California, a California king snake, which was exhibiting some signs of a disease. It was sent off to a lab, and it was said or found that it had the fungus that leads to snake fungal disease. Also, a Florida water snake found in, I believe it was Folsom, collected this week, was it? I think it was this week, also tested positive for snake fungal disease. So it is here. It is out west. It has moved in, I mean, it's covered half the country in 10 years. That's absolutely astonishing. And you know, I kind of feel bad a few years ago when we talked about this, about saying, yeah, it's just an East Coast problem. This is, you know, because now it's a nationwide problem. So that being said, the California Department of Fish and Game is asking if you see any snakes that exhibit the signs of snake fungal disease, which are, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this off my screen because, guys, I don't want to mislead anybody or anything, but it says that visible signs may include scabs, skin ulcers, or nodules, crusted scales, discolored scales, cloudy eyes, and a swollen, disfigured face. If you see any of those signs, or a snake that's just not acting right, to contact the Department of Fish and Game immediately. They do also make sure to note not to mess with the snake. I'm assuming that you can pass the disease on to other snakes because it is contracted by, I guess it lives in the dirt, and on sores on their belly they can catch it, as well as a direct contact with another snake that has it. So let that be known, out west snake fungal disease is now a real thing. And that actually was going to be the only thing that we were going to talk about today until right before recording this. Another important story came up, and some of you have already heard about this story. Let me adjust my chair. Some of you have already heard. Dang it, I hate that thing. Some of you have already heard about this story out of Oxford, Indiana, where a woman was found dead. A 36-year-old woman was found dead with a reticulated python wrapped around her neck in the sheriff's house, or a house that the sheriff owned. And you know, I'm gonna go out right now and say that it's so unfortunate that somebody lost their life in this. And being a house that a sheriff owned, it obviously can, I mean, obviously it's affected one person's life greatly because it ended it, which is unfortunate, but it's going to also, I'm sure it's going to affect the sheriff's life as well. But what really jumped out at me at this story is the people of Oxford are now calling for regulations on pythons and the amount of snakes you can keep. And apparently they say that the house, that this particular house was specially designed to hold up to 140 snakes, and there's no saying how many snakes were in there. They have estimates there anywhere between 20 and 50, but calls to the Benton County Sheriff's Department were not answered, and calls to the county office on the zoning were relayed to the state police, who are currently investigating this. And it brings up a really good point, and we've talked about this in the past a little bit. This was an 8-foot snake, guys. This was an 8-foot long snake that that killed somebody. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know the situation, know what was going on, whether this person was sober or not, and I'm not even going to speculate. But an adult woman was killed by an 8-foot reticulated python, and the coroner's official report does say asphyxiation was the cause of death here. So that seems pretty concrete to me, because that's kind of what happens when they wrap around your neck. So I was having an interesting conversation with somebody about this right before recording this video, and we had talked about constrictors and how strong they are and everything. I don't think people realize that, you know, I had 8 years ago, I had a 10.5-foot long Burmese python, and when she would get something in her head, it was very hard to get it out of her head. I mean, she would wrap around my arm, and I never much worried about it too much because I was trained in handling her. But I still remember how, I mean, you try to get your fingers underneath the snake and pull her off your arm, and there was like an airtight seal there. And it wasn't a matter of her being like overpowering me necessarily, because she wasn't like super strong, but it's just trying to get anything in between you and her to get her off was the hard part. And I have talked to people and read about people that keep like liquor or rubbing alcohol in their snake rooms to pour on the snake's head. And I don't know a lot about it. I'm told that it's harmless to the snake, but it will cause them to release immediately. I don't know enough about it to actually recommend that. Maybe you guys can leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about that. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. People of Oxford, Indiana, get ready, because it looks like regulations might be coming for you in this in the aftermath of this tragic event at the house that the sheriff owned. I don't really anticipate too many people are going to be around to watch this, because it's Thursday and I haven't made a video on Thursday in years. But anyway, that, my friends, has been all your news for this Thursday. If you'd like to read any more about these stories, those links are right down below here in the description. And as always, if you're still watching, my name is Jason White. Now you know what's going on in the reptile world. Be good to each other, and we'll see you next time.